Welcome to the Wealth Rebel Show. I am Emma, your resident Wealth Rebel, and today in this subliminal audio, I want to talk to you about something raw on my own journey to transforming my wealth. Now, when you decide to work on your wealth and create a shift, it is not easy. In fact, it's really, 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 really hard. And it's not about money or any physical asset outside of you. Not really. Now, people come to work with me to work on their money, but how you treat money, your time, your energy, yourself is all about your relationship with yourself. And when I guide people on this journey, I come from a true place of self-reflection. So anything I expect anyone to do in their own life and business is something that I've either done or I would do myself. I would never, ever kind of create this pathway if I'm not prepared to walk this pathless path myself. So when you work on your wealth, as I've experienced, you fully reveal your biggest wounds because you need to allow them to finally heal. Because that's what wealth really is. It's not having these wounds that have impacted your relationships, all of your relationships across all areas of your life. And I want you to know by sharing this story with you that I am on this journey with you. Honestly, I would never expect you to do anything that I would not do myself. I am creating everything in my life, everything that I share with you, everything that I see, that you see, that I see in my reality, I'm creating for myself. But a huge part of that is uncovering my own, what I call wealth wounds. Wealth is your energy, it's your frequency. And if you have energetic damage, things in yourself, in your beingness, that is not right for you, that's creating anxiety and stress and a self of lack or anything that's going to hold you back, those are wealth wounds. So I'm revealing all of those for myself right now so that I can do the work and heal them once and for all. And as I've been doing this work over the last definitely over the last 6 months, but over the last few weeks, it has got raw and real for me. And I realized this huge revelation that I just had to talk to you about today. I had to share it with you because it was massive for me to have this incredible, incredible revelation. Okay. What I realized was I have been going through my life feeling that I'm being ignored. Because in the early age of my life, in my really, really early years, I was fully ignored by some of the most important people in my life, like from like a tiny age. Okay, just when I was forming my beliefs and my beliefs that I have about the world and about myself, because it's what you believe about yourself at a really, really deep age, I realized that my story has been defined by the fact that I was ignored by some of the most important people in my life. That story I'm not here to share, but it's the revelation that this is really steering my own ship in today, and I'm ready to release it. Because what I really realized is that I'm not really being ignored. Not really. And I never was being ignored in those early years. And I'm going to talk more deeply about that. But what I want you to realize is it is okay to be ignored by other people. Because by being ignored by someone else, it's a mirror, it's their own avoidance that they are reflecting onto you. I was ignored in my early years of my life by loved ones in my inner circle. And this was such a wounding. It made me feel, as a tiny person, like a complete and utter abandonment, right? And so I grew up with this massive fear of abandonment. It's a huge wound that we can carry through life and it influences everything. So being ignored in my life when someone ignores me, even something as simple as someone ignoring me in the supermarket when I've been queuing up really patiently, like a little good girl. I talked the other day about, trying to be good, trying to be liked, right? And these are all connected, right? It's all connected. Nothing is standalone. But when you have these instances of someone triggering you because they're ignoring you, something really simple, right? You realize that that's because when you go back, maybe someone really important to you has ignored you at a really influential time in your life, and it really influences everything. And it comes down to the fact that this trigger really needs to come to the surface, right? And I wasn't really fearing abandonment. It was that sense of being ignored that was at the heart of my inner vulnerability. And I had to fix this. I have to fix this. I am fixing this right now. I'm using tools in my world called matrix reimprinting. I'm working with an incredible coach on this, one of my soul coaches, Samantha Hardwick, right? Hello, Samantha. So being ignored in my life is a major trigger for me. It's finally come to the surface. I wasn't really fearing that abandonment. It was that sense of being ignored. And I am going to continue to work on this. And I want to share this with you so that maybe this resonates with you at some really deep level. I want to make it clear to you, it's not okay for people to deliberately ignore you. We're not justifying anyone else's poor behavior, but it's all about being unaffected by it so that you can create balance, so that someone else's behavior doesn't affect your inner world. But it's not allowing someone else to be poor towards you. You can observe it and you can deal with it, but you'll deal with it in a really beautiful way. Because someone else's ability to ignore you is a reflection of their inner world. It isn't that they are really ignoring you. What came up for me as I dived into this, right, was when someone ignores you, what they are really doing is avoiding something that they see in you that is triggering them. Often people can't look at you. They can't look at you in your eyes because your eyes are the gateway to your soul. And I realized this. I realized that a person that I love deeply couldn't look me in the eye as they ignored me, really at a deep level, because I reflected something to them. I triggered them. And often people can't look at you because of some form of shame or guilt that you raise in them. You hold up that mirror to them. So, no, it isn't you that's being ignored. Actually, they're ignoring themselves. And I am not being ignored. You are not being ignored. Avoidance of one's emotion is not self-regulation. They are avoiding their own feelings. And in order to rewire your own emotions in this example, sit in the discomfort of being ignored. Sit in the discomfort of being ignored. Allow it to rise and allow it to move through you and observe it. Don't have to react in that moment. Go away and journal on it. Sit in that discomfort, because what that does is you sit in an emotion that is allowed to be there. You're allowed to feel when someone is ignoring you. But what you do when you do that is you allow the emotional cycle to complete and the energy to move through you, and you release wounds when you do that. It's a really simple exercise for you to do. But that for the other person, often what we do is we try and fix them, right? In that situation, when they're in avoidance and they're ignoring you, you want to jump in, you want to explain, you want to help them, you want to make it right for them, you want to people please. You want to say, are you okay? Why are you ignoring me? I'm sorry. But this is for the other person to figure out, because you need to sit in your own discomfort of being ignored and allow it to rise for you to release, because it's not for you to embody what they are dealing with. Because when you take on someone else's behaviors, we are trying to fix them. But you won't ever heal your own discomfort and pain by doing that, your own emotional regulation and responses, in your own pain and suffering from the trauma of being ignored. And also, you ain't going to fix them. You need to allow them to crash and burn in their own guilt, shame, and mirror because it's for them to do the work on themselves. And being ignored by someone that you love and would never ignore, because this is one of the biggest things you would not ignore, it's hard. It is so hard, let me tell you. It feels like you are abandoning yourself when you don't even react to it. But let me tell you, you are not. And they are not abandoning you, really. They are abandoning themselves. And you are abandoning yourself when you don't allow yourself to sit in that discomfort and feel the pain of apparent abandonment. So, how do you heal this? How do you heal this deep wound, the pain of being ignored, the fear of abandonment, when you feel the trigger? When you feel the trigger, sit in the discomfort, the emotion, and observe it as much as possible. Don't run from it. Don't react to it. Observe it. Journal on it when you can. So, by the way, this is actually what came up for me as I journaled on something. Okay, as I observed an emotion that rised in me, something rose in me at 3:03 a.m. Often it does. 3 a.m. in the morning, 3:03, when I can't sleep from the trauma of being abandoned by someone that I love. It usually can only take a memory because remember, a lot of the time we don't need to actually physically be ignored. We can just have a memory. And usually this memory isn't something horrible. It doesn't even have to be a painful memory. It can be a loving memory of them. You have a flash and a memory of a person before they abandoned and ignored you. It's actually a memory of them, their body, their presence, their love, their energy when they were in your life. And when then you remember that they aren't here anymore, that they chose to leave, you have that wave of pure grief in you. And as I remembered that pain and that moment when I laid in bed at 3 a.m., you observe that emotion. You allow that emotion to rise and you start to write it down. See, I'm sharing this with you, and it's obviously still there with me. Write it down, write all of it down. As I did this, I was able to go deeper due to all the knowledge that I've built about how my body, my brain, my emotional systems work, that knowledge and that power that I know that I need to be aware to integrate it at all times and to sit in that discomfort. I don't ignore my emotional pain or avoid it. I see it and I allow it to process and I release it one tiny emotion at a time. And by doing that, I'm that bit stronger. And as I did this, I realized that that person who ignored me, I get it. You didn't ignore me. You aren't ignoring me. It's not that I'm too much of a distraction. It's just easier to avoid than face your own emotions that I bring up in you. So thank you. Thank you for showing me this. I'll always love those people that have maybe brought this up in me. I'll always love you. Namaste.